this is what I did last summer, about the same time, I think. I just thought it was, well, it's interesting because it's a bowl of fruit, but the subject matter I've set up today is very different. And in fact, when I did this painting, there's a lot more background around it, and it really wasn't necessary. So I cropped it all and just thought, well, the really interesting bit is that little bowl with the fruit in it. And it didn't need very much more than that. So a little bit of a suggestion of wet into wet under the front of the bowl or front of the plate, whatever you have when you get there, I think, you know, it helps to, if it, well, this was a white bowl, but yours might not be, and my one today isn't white. And certainly, you know, how you deal with the background, again, keep it simple, okay? You know, as I say, I brought the mask right down. I had a bit more in there, but I didn't want to have that. Anyway, I started mine yesterday because I wanted to just have a little look at it. And it's, well, you can, can we have the two together, Lucy? The plate and the actual real thing. Right, there we are.
Oh.
Oh, clever.
It's far too complicated and too much, actually. But anyway, and I will probably bring my mask down to here. I don't want all this background, but I've got it in there at the moment because I think I could have gone in closer or made the fruit bigger. But anyway, I got caught up with these apricots in the front. And just like I was saying, Yvonne, I had to keep, I worked and worked with these, and the top part, I'll just see if I can go in a bit closer. That's about as close as I can get. Can you see I've sort of kept it lighter, and then down here I deliberately wanted to make it darker at the bottom.
But so can I ask you a question? Did you put on a damp colour and then keep it fairly damp when you put on the next layer?
Well, no, this is what I was going to say to you. Yes, I did it straight onto the dry paper. I didn't wet it first. I then put the first wash on. But the important thing is when you put the next wash on, it's neither too dry nor too wet.
Yes.
And and the other thing is that I would recommend you all have two brushes on the go. So one brush has the wash in it, and the other one has just plain water on it, so that when you put a colour down, you can then, if you're putting the second colour on, you can just soften it with the other brush, so there is no watermark, because that's the hard bit, you know, avoiding getting watermarks where you put the second colour down or the third colour.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yes.
And I think you're all getting much better at that. I certainly, when I come to talk about your work that you sent in from last week, I think there's real evidence of a better understanding of that, of working wet into wet and how lovely it can be. I think, you know, here, and I have actually painted in a bit of the around the here, because I wanted to see how to deal with it. And all this is very much wet into wet, you know, where I put one colour down, then literally dropped another colour on top of it. And that's the way you can kind of build up the sort of darks. Okay, so if I've got a bit of colour here like this and it's already wet, get the next colour on my brush, and rather than stroking it, I'd actually literally drop it into that wet colour. Can you see that?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, the other thing you can do is you can then get your other brush, which has just got water on it and nothing else, and you can literally soften the edge of the outer colour like that, you know, just with your clean brush. So it's very different to sort of dragging a colour across. It doesn't have the same effect. If you start trying to push the colour around with your paintbrush in an active way, which is what we're kind of been taught to do, you know, that we're taught that, you know, you make a brush stroke like so, and you know, when you're painting, that you sort of fill in. Well, watercolor, I don't think is like that. I think you almost have to let it do itself, you know, at times. You know, obviously you've got to consider your shape, but doing that sort of thing, which is wet into wet, especially in the area underneath the plate, for one thing, here and here, is the way to get that sort of gradated kind of shadow area without there being any kind of obvious edge or watermarks on it.
Can I ask
Yeah.
one more question about this
Yeah.
wet on wet? Just, I'm a little confused. When it's wet on wet, you don't mean that you wet the paper first and then put on your first
Well, you
wash.
can do.
put
You
it on
can
the
do.
dry paper. Okay.
Well, look, let's have, if I start on this one, then you'll be
Okay.
able to see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to start mixing the color. I haven't mixed my color yet for this apple. If you start to get a color mix up while I'm doing this, and then you can watch me as I'm putting the first couple of colors down on this big apple. Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Sue, can I say I looked up Blas de Ledesma while you were talking and have sent you an email with a fantastic picture by him.
Okay.
Which I've also sent to
When we
Sally.
break out and I share again,
Yeah.
I'll show everybody.
Lovely, okay.
Thank you, Prue. Right, Shelley, I've got my first two colors ready.
Okay.
So I've got my first color on my brush, which is the green. I'm going to start with this green that runs under everything on there. So I'm just working straight onto the dry paper. And I sometimes add a bit of water in just to weaken it, but I think this will be fine. So this is literally just painting it as one would normally. Now, when I get to the top of the fruit, this bit here, there's a bit of light up there. So what I'm going to do is take my brush, which is with my clean water, and I'm just literally going to soften that edge off there.
Okay.
And then go back with the green. So the light's sort of hitting it at the top here. Okay, so that's the first colour. Now already I can see it's nearly dry. So I'm going to wash my brush and go into my second colour, which is the red. Yeah. And I'm just literally going to drop it on. Can you see that?
Yes, yes, it's very helpful, very helpful. Okay.
I'm also going to use my other brush, the one that's just got water on it, just to soften the colour in as I drop it in. So, you know, it's stronger in places than others. Now, the other thing I always find useful, of course, is this hairdryer, because I want to dry it off a bit before I add some more colour into it. What's so interesting, as soon as you dry it, you see how light the colour appears when you dry it back. You know, it looked quite dark when I was putting the colour on, but as soon as you start introducing, you know, it starts to dry, it changes a lot.
So is that the same weight of the same mix that you started with?
Yeah, exactly the same colour.
Okay.
It's just that because it's you know, it's got two layers, it's already building up a
Okay.
kind of tone. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.